Zimbabwe. It was, let's call it adverse conditions. It was an extremely rural area. I think we've told the stories already, so I won't go back into that. But our team of over 50 volunteers, including our local staff and our Ethiopian team of medical professionals, all camped in tents, in kind of Coleman-style tents in a field, and it got down to about 42 degrees at night in Zimbabwe. It was the winter there in the end of May when we were doing the clinic. And it was my turn on Wednesday morning to share for the devotion at the morning meeting. And I was excited to do it, but wasn't sure exactly what I would speak on. I had just returned the morning before from a series of government meetings, which were at times less than cordial, and the Lord broke through and got us the licenses that we needed, but with no small degree of angst and difficulty. We were feeling the opposition. It was the middle of the week. We could tell our team already at 3 nights in the tents was weary, and we had 3 days of clinic to go. And so I'm sitting as Rana led our prayer team in the tent at 5:15 in the morning. It's pitch black out, and you can see the whole Milky Way because there's no lights, no light pollution for hundreds of miles in any direction. And I'm sitting shivering in the breakfast tent, wondering when they're going to boil the water for coffee, reading, trying to figure out, what shall I speak on this morning? And you know how sometimes, I mean, you've read the Bible multiple times, but sometimes you see something and it's as though you never read it. And so I'm reading in Jeremiah, if I can coordinate myself here. And this is the same chapter where Jeremiah is told to build to buy the field, and he's going, "What's going on, Lord? You're exiling all of us. Why should I buy land in Israel?" And the Lord responds and says, "I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. Is anything too hard for me?" So that's the context. And in verse 37 of chapter 32, this is what I'm reading in the tent that morning. This is what the Lord says: "Behold, I will gather them, the children of Israel, out of all the countries where I have driven them in my anger, in my fury, and in great wrath. I will bring them back to this place, and I will cause them to dwell safely. They shall be my people, and I will be their God. Then I will give them one heart and one way, that they may fear me forever, for the good of them and their children after them. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them," this is where it gets good, "that I will not turn away from doing them good, but I will put my fear in their hearts, so that they will not depart from me. Yes, I will rejoice over them to do them good, and I will assuredly plant them in this land, the land of Israel, with all my heart and with all my soul." And I was stunned. And I looked and said, does the Lord say that anywhere else except referring to regathering the children of Israel to himself and to the land? And I looked in the thesaurus and ran all the references. He doesn't. This is the only place where he says he's doing something. I mean, he's doing a lot of things, in magnificent ways, more than we could ever, imagine. But he's regathering the children of Israel, including the Lemba and the Bnei Menashe and the Beta Israel and the Beta Avraham, in the places where we're working. He's bringing them back to himself, and he's bringing them back to the land with all his heart and with all his soul. So, perhaps knowingly, perhaps unbeknownst to Jonathan, we've stumbled in the last 15 years into the ministry of something the Lord's doing with all his heart and with all his soul. And I thought, in 42 degrees Fahrenheit, okay, I can get behind that. That's enough. And shared that with the team that morning. But those of us, the rest of the Global Outreach team has heard this too many times from me, but I'm stuck on it. Because this alone, you know what I mean? When it gets hard, and it does, and when it's discouraging, and it is from time to time, and when it seems there's a lack of human or financial resources or whatever, or we're out of time, or people aren't thankful, this is what the Lord's doing with all his heart and with all his soul. So if we can partner with him in that, woe the things he's going to do through this ministry. And that's our kind of excitement and happy thought as we move into 2013, which will be a year of more outreach than we've done.